Does this work? Oh my goodness, it works. Well, it's great to see all of you here, the few that are here. Hopefully we'll get some more on the way. My name is Bruce Knotts, and you've heard that I'm the chair of the NGO Committee on Disarmament, Peace, and Security. And I do want to mention, because there was some talk earlier about NGOs, and the comment was that NGOs cannot make peace, and that's absolutely true. But NGOs can be a catalyst for peace. And NGOs are kind of like gadflies, particularly at the United Nations and other places, and they remind member states, remind governments of the things they need to be doing to make the world a better place. And so that's one of the things we do at the NGO Committee on Disarmament, Peace, and Security. I'm going to make a few remarks, and then we will hear from our other speakers. And I'm delighted to be here. I love coming here every year to the World League of Freedom and Democracy. You're all family to me now, best friends and people that I really care very much for. And I want to talk about peace, climate change, and nuclear weapons. There are many wars going on now, and I want to focus on the civil war in Sudan, Israeli war against Gaza, and the Russian war against Ukraine. I don't want to talk about how these wars got started, because it's been my experience that when I do that, it just winds up being an argument, and I don't want an argument. In fact, it was a meeting I had in Finland, and there was a woman there, and she said, well, NATO started the war with Ukraine, and that was an argument, and that's why I don't like to talk about how wars get started. But wars are fueled by military weapons and money. If you can get rid of the weapons and you get rid of the money, you get rid of the war. The civil war in Sudan is one between two Sudanese military groups. One is financed and supported by the United Arab Emirates, and the other is financed by Egypt. If these two nations stop supporting the military forces in Sudan, the war would end. I mentioned that I lived and worked in Sudan. I was at the American Embassy there, and it was a beautiful country. People think of Sudan as just a bunch of desert, but I saw the presidential palace, which was a beautiful place that was built by the British when they were there as the colonizers, and beautiful mosques, beautiful churches, just a lot of beautiful houses where I was hosted in many places, and it was a great country. All these places, these neighborhoods that I knew so well, and these beautiful places, it's just sand now. There's nothing left. The war has been just devastating. So that's what I want to get rid of, is this kind of devastating war. The Israeli war in Gaza would stop the moment the United States stops sending weapons and money to Israel. The war in Sudan would stop if the United Arab Emirates and Egypt stopped sending money to the two sides. What keeps Russia able to fight a long protracted war? The answer is oil, which they sell in vast quantities to India, China, and Europe. The world is burning up due to climate change, and we must stop using fossil fuels. If Russia stopped its oil supplies, it would help reduce climate change heat and would stop them having the war with Ukraine. All nations need to stop using fossil fuels. So if we stop the wars and we solve climate change, we still have one more problem. And that problem is nuclear weapons. And it is the nuclear weapons that could destroy the entire planet. we must abolish nuclear weapons, and that needs to be a priority for us. Finally, I want to note this is 80 years since the end of the Second World War, and I want to note that the Imperial Japanese Army that had invaded China surrendered to General Chiang Kai-shek, who was the chairman of the national government of the Republic of China. The Republic of China was a founding member of the United Nations with a permanent seat in the UN Security Council with veto power. And the United States very much supported that because of the hard work they did during the Second World War and the sacrifices they made. This all changed in 1971 when US President Nixon, hoping to put a distance between the People's Republic of China and the Soviet Union, because he feared that if the Soviet Union and China got together, they would have a military force bigger than that of the United States. And so they basically tried to bribe the People's Republic of China and give them something that they wanted, with the idea that then they would be nice to the United States. What they gave them was the Republic of China, this Republic of China's seats at the UN. And so the permanent seat in the Security Council and other UN status all went to the People's Republic of China with the hope that they would stay away from the Soviet Union. And guess what happened? Now, of course, the People's Republic of China is very allied with Russia, and they've even now included North Korea and India into the alliance, making the forces of autocracy even more powerful. Democracy and freedom-loving nations need to work even harder to maintain freedom and democracy in the world. And that's my bit, and we will. Well, thank you. So we have some really wonderful speakers here, and we'll start with Kim Korth. She is Executive Vice President of the World Jurists Association, a representative to the United Nations, as their representative to the United Nations, Director of Global NGO Executive Committee, Department of Global Communications at the UN. So, Kim.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, everyone. We heard some excellent conversations earlier this morning on the role that NGOs play in peacekeeping. And I'm going to flip that a little bit, that topic, because my topic is not necessarily the role of peacekeeping by NGOs, but more the role that the NGOs are playing in maintaining peace with the largest global with the largest global peacekeeping entity, the United Nations. So what is the role of the NGOs at the United Nations? It's been a bit contradictory. On the one hand, member states say they respect the role of NGOs and they want them to participate. On the other hand, the role of NGOs is constantly being downgraded and restricted. So what does that mean for peacekeeping? So what happens is, what has happened in recent years, within the past 4 to 5 years, is there has been a movement within the United Nations called the Pact for the Future. And when the UN was founded in 1945, there were mere hundreds of NGOs. Now, today, there are tens of thousands of NGOs. And so what impact does those NGOs have on peacekeeping and their role at the United Nations. One of the things that NGOs have done, because they have become such a formidable force, is they have acquired a lot of power. There are many NGOs who have a lot of political influence, and there are NGOs that have a lot of financial influence. So what does that do for the Pact for the Future? So before we go into what the Pact of the Future is and how it could revolutionize the United Nations, for those in the audience that don't know what it is, how it started, and what it is intended to do, I'm going to take a few minutes to just tell you what it is and how it operates. It originated with the UN Secretary General in 2021. He had a report that he called the Common Agenda. And in the Common Agenda, he set forth some very ambitious goals for the United Nations through the Summit of the Future, which was actually last year in the 2024 was approved unanimously by acclamation at the United Nations. The report proposed a summit of the future as the defining moment to strengthen multilateralism and to address the global issues that we are currently facing. So what are the component parts of this Pact for the Future, and how have NGOs been involved in implementing it? So I'm going to read from this because it's a little bit more complicated, but it's the UN 75 Declaration, which was proposed by the UN Secretary General on the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. It included a commitment of member states. They had to report on current and existing challenges and what they were going to do to address them. The Common Agenda, which called for a summit of the future to renew trust and improve multilateral systems. The Summit of the Future, which followed the Secretary General's response to hold the summit to enact the Pact for the Future. This was presented to member states who then began engaging in multilateral and intense negotiations as to what that pact should be and what it should look like. So now that we understand how it was formed, what it was intended to do, and how this process began, what was the role of the NGOs in implementing the pact? Well, as you can imagine, the member states were not very excited about including NGOs in this process. So most critics have commented that although NGOs engaged in the pact process, the engagement was minimal, deliberately minimal, in comparison to the member states. So although they participated initially in the pact, they were not considered to be important members in the drafting of the pact. So the NGOs, as Bruce pointed out, were a bit feisty. We don't like the fact that we're not included. So we held a conference in Nairobi that involved 3,000 participants, and it addressed every aspect of the Pact for the Future, and also addressed the UN and what the UN should be doing as part of the Pact for the Future. So then, at that point, the UN said, they've made some good points here, so they implemented a dual-track process. There was a dual-track process. There was the official UN track, which was primarily engaged by ECOSOC organizations. That's the Committee on Economic and Social at the United Nations. And other civil societies organizations were allowed to participate, but they were only on a non-objection basis. So they could sit there and listen, but they could not vote. They could not decide what the pact was going to do. So during these avenues, NGO representatives noted the irony that negotiations for an inclusive pact was not inclusive at all. In fact, it was exclusive and deliberately so. The People's Pact, because of this sort of dichotomy where we had a pact for the future where civil society did not have a voice, 300 NGOs got together and had a unsilence civil society. And again, the UN was then forced to take notice because there was a People's Pact for the future that was a result of that. So they made the most of their opportunities. In addition to the People's Pact, the conference in Nairobi made it clear that civil society's involvement was critical and that implementing the goals of the pact, that they were critical to that process and that they would ensure that critical resources were not misused. Despite numerous roadblocks, NGOs had an important role in developing the Pact for the Future, a groundbreaking, innovative plan to restructure the operations of the largest peacekeeping organization in the world. It is seen as a springboard for action and not as an end. The pact is a partially open door. It's an open door for UN cooperation, with NGOs stating in a general way that participation of relevant stakeholders is appropriate and that these formats should be considered in future negotiations. So the United Nations has opened the door to more NGO participation, and NGOs are going to walk through that door and take action on the Pact for the Future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is the Honorable Tina Rose Munya Barnes, and she's the Senator from Guam Legislature and former Vice Speaker of Guam Legislature. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Buenas Zanhafa, Ni hao. Good afternoon, distinguished members of the World League for Freedom and Democracy and the 66 APLFD members, friends, and colleagues. My name is Tina Rose Munya Barnes. I am the Senator and ranking member of the 38th Guam Legislature. I am the former Speaker and Vice Speaker with 10 terms in the Guam Legislature. It is a privilege to join you here this afternoon on the theme, NGOs as the catalyst for promoting world peace. And I bring warm greetings from the beautiful island of Guam, an island small in size, but large in history, resilience, and spirit, much like our friends here in Taiwan. Colleagues, I want to say Guam sits at the crossroads of the Pacific. For centuries, we have been a meeting place of cultures, but also a front line of conflict. Our island endured more than 300 years of colonization under Spain, the devastation of World War II, and today remains one of the most strategically significant United States territories in the region. We know the cost of war, not as a tabletop exercises, but as truths our people have endured. And we know the precious value of peace because for us, ladies and gentlemen, peace is not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of dignity, freedom, and opportunity for our people. It is from this perspective that I wish to highlight why non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, are essential to sustaining peace. They are the catalyst for peace in ways that government alone cannot be. First, NGOs are family. On Guam, on our island of Guam, as in many island communities, it is often volunteers who mobilize first when disaster strikes. After Typhoon Mawar devastated our island just a year and a half ago, it was NGOs like the Guam Red Cross, faith-based organizations, and neighborhood groups who stepped up immediately, providing meals, water, and emotional support. Families found shelter not in buildings, but in the kindness of volunteers who listened, who comforted, and stayed by their side. That kind of closeness builds trust in ways official institutions sometimes cannot. Second, NGOs are consistent. Governments change with elections, policies rise and fall with political tides, but NGOs, guided by mission rather than mandate, remain the steady thread, weaving long-term commitments into the fabric of society. On Guam, we see this persistence in organizations that advocate for indigenous Chamorro rights, promote language revitalization, and protect our fragile environment. Their work is not measured in weeks or months, but in generations. This is peace building at its deepest level, addressing not only today's conflicts, but also the legacies of yesterday. Third, NGOs unleash people power. Guam is home to fewer than 200,000 people, yet our NGOs have amplified our voices far beyond our shores, whether it is advocating for decolonization at the United Nations, raising awareness about militarization, or joining Pacific-wide coalitions on climate change. Our NGOs show that even small communities have a global impact. That is people power in action, turning local struggles into global solidarity. Friends, Guam's stories reflect a larger truth. Peace is not delivered from the top down. It must be cultivated from the ground up. NGOs are the gardeners of peace, tending the soil of trust, dialogue, and justice, where governments sometimes sow only policy and power. And this is where I see a powerful connection between Taiwan and Guam. Taiwan has shown the region what vibrant civil society looks like. NGOs that champion democracy, human rights, and humanitarian aid far beyond your borders. I want to say in Guam, we watch and we learn from your example, because we too understand that the resilience of small communities can truly inspire the world. So as we reflect on NGOs as catalysts for world peace, I offer 3 calls to action from Guam's perspective, though I must also recognize that Taiwan is already showing us this way. Invest in NGOs. For small islands like ours, every resource counts. Supporting NGOs means supporting the most vulnerable, the most visionary, and Taiwan has long demonstrated this commitment, directing resources not only to its own communities, but also to partners across the region. Protect civic space. A shrinking space for NGOs means a shrinking future for peace. Our Highland history reminds us of how fragile freedom is and why it must always be defended. Taiwan's vibrant civil society is proof of what is possible when civic space is safeguarded, and it stands as an inspiration for all of us. Strengthen regional networks. Guam alone is small. Taiwan alone is small. But together, we are Asia-Pacific neighbors. We form something much larger and more powerful. Taiwan, through WLFD, has already shown leadership in building and sustaining these networks. Networks that safeguard democracy, amplify civil society, and give islands like ours a stronger voice. I want to thank the World League for Freedom and Democracy for being trailblazers in this effort and for extending that spirit of collaboration to our beautiful island of Guam. So in closing, colleagues, I return to the wisdom of the Chamorro people. We say in our native tongue, "Inat famalik," which means to make good with one another. It embodies harmony, reciprocity, and balance. And this is what NGOs, ladies and gentlemen, do every day. They live out Inat Famalik on a local, a regional, and a global scale. So peace is not abstract for us on Guam. It is woven into our survival, our resilience, and our hope for the generations to come. NGOs are not merely partners in this journey. They are the catalysts who transform our collective yearning for peace into concrete, lasting change. So on behalf of our island of Guam, we say Sidus Ma'asi, Sheshe, thank you, and may the work of all our NGOs continue to light the path toward peace in our region and peace in our world. Sheshe.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Dr. Dorothea Christiana. She's chair of the Executive Board of United Peoples, trustee of United Nations Association UK, international speaker, strategic advisor for the World Federalist Movement, co-founder and co-leader of the Second Enlightenment Movement, and she's an author of academic and philosophical writings. Please welcome Dorothea Christiana.
Thank you, Bruce. Dear honorable and esteemed colleagues, I am sitting before you today with profound appreciation for the incredible mission that unites us all: global peace and unity. Your dedication to upholding the values of freedom, democracy, and world peace is truly inspiring. And it is a privilege to be among such a distinguished assembly, particularly here in Taiwan, a beacon of democratic principles and a fervent advocate for global cooperation. I understand that many of you are legislators, shaping policy and driving change in your respective nations. You are also representatives to the United Nations, academics, and leaders of civil society. This diverse and powerful gathering perfectly embodies the spirit of collaboration that is essential for our shared goals. Our conference theme, NGOs as a catalyst for promoting world peace, is not merely a topic for discussion. It is a vital call to action as we witness the profound challenges and urgent need for peace across the globe. My aim today is to offer ideas, opportunities, and support in furthering WLFD's crucial mission through the powerful potential of NGOs. So today I will speak to 3 topics. 1, the power of unity and diverse perspectives. 2, building bridges, connecting civil society to decision makers through the United Peoples ecosystem. And 3, a call for collaboration and a shared vision for the future. Beginning with the first topic, the power of unity and diverse perspectives. The World League for Freedom and Democracy's mission is clear: to spread the spirit of democracy and freedom to every corner of the world. This mission resonates deeply with the work I'm engaged in, and I see incredible potential when we unite our diverse strengths. A powerful example of this is the Interfaith Transnational Working Group on Values, Faith Perspectives, and Global Governance with the World Federalist Movement, which WLFD joined in 2024. My own involvement in this group has highlighted a crucial insight. When faith leaders and diverse NGOs come together to speak with one voice, submitting unified documents to international institutions like the UN, that their message carries far more weight and influence because their diversity is demonstrated in a unified form. This collective transcends national and religious divides, offering solutions that can benefit multiple nations, regardless of their majority faith. This is how we amplify our power and influence together, truly acting as catalysts for peace. Your mission also emphasizes being an international community to exchange views and ideas to work together. My experience with various NGOs confirms that international representation is vital for fostering creative solutions. Often a fresh perspective from a different demographic can unlock solutions we hadn't considered. I extend a heartfelt invitation for more participation from Asian and other countries in my various work streams to enrich this exchange of ideas. This conference itself, bringing together such diverse voices, is a testament to the wisdom of this approach, strengthening our collective capacity as NGOs. The second topic, building bridges, connecting civil society to decision makers through the United Peoples ecosystem. This brings me to another core part of WLFD's mission, to play an important role as a bridge for government and non-governmental organizations. This bridge is indispensable, as it connects the aspirations of civil society with the power of policymakers and legislators like yourselves, who can enact change through policies and legislation. My doctoral research experienced and explored this very relationship between the UN and civil society, revealing that both desperately need each other, though inherent flaws often lead to dysfunction. From this research, the United Peoples ecosystem was born, not as another organization or institution, but as an evolving ecosystem designed to foster healing, understanding, and authentic connections. The United Peoples ecosystem is particularly focused on crucial areas that align with your mission to promote peace and prevent conflict in a number of ways. Firstly, by addressing pre-conflict relations. We aim to bring people together before conflicts erupt, fostering dialogue and understanding to peacefully diffuse tensions and prevent friction from further development. Secondly, by elevating community and civil society voices to decision makers. We provide a vital platform for civil society and those who identify as marginalized to speak directly to those who hold the power to shape our world, offering insights and solutions from the ground up. Thirdly, by addressing power imbalances and bringing together co-competitors. We create safe, calm spaces where individuals from different backgrounds come together face to face, stripping away the trappings of rank and privilege. Our goal is to see the dignity and humanity in one another, fostering internal transformations that are essential for external peace. Unlike traditional external transformations, the United Peoples ecosystem focuses on internal shifts, opening minds and hearts, believing that authentic connections built from the heart make everything possible. This unique diplomacy style is now being taught at a university in Brazil, and I am in active discussions to expand cross-cultural diplomacy programs with other countries and institutions who have reached out to me with their interest. The practical and educational components allow for a rapid application of learning to real-world peace building. At a conference in London just this past August, where I presented the United Peoples ecosystem on the topic of, does the world need a new government? The consensus was clear. This bridge between government and NGOs is absolutely crucial for the well-being of all. And to my last topic, a call for collaboration and a shared vision for the future. The WLFD mission states you are actively seeking connections and engagements with think tanks of every country, discussing international issues and exchanging points of view. At the same time, to increase substantial relationships. I deeply resonate with this, as you will have already heard. But to build even further on that, as the UN marks its 80th year and is currently, right as we're speaking, sitting in its 80th General Assembly with global leaders discussing world challenges, we here today are not just discussing, but actively seeking to work together, uniting for peace and upholding the Declaration of Human Rights. In the preamble of your charter, it eloquently states, we, having faith in divine providence that guides the destinies of humankind, do unite. To this I add, in this unity, we shall prevail. We shall achieve a more loving and caring world where kindness flourishes. To conclude, I warmly welcome you to connect with me if you are interested in learning more about the United Peoples ecosystem or engage more with any of my work streams that I've spoken about or otherwise to explore how our initiatives might further strengthen your important work. Thank you for your tireless efforts in uniting freedom and democracy-loving people across the globe and promoting world peace. Your mission is so inspiring, so needed, and I'm profoundly grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've been doing pretty well with names and such, and I fear that the next speaker, I need his indulgence and correction if I mess things up, so I'm going to try my best. Our next speaker is Dr. Kui Huang, and he's a professor, Department of Diplomacy, National Tsinghua University, president of the President and Board Director, Foundation for the People, Republic of China, Taiwan.
Okay, thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and my dear panelists, and especially my appreciation to the organizers, Honorable Mr. Zheng Yongquan, for your invite. And actually, Mr. Moderator's pronunciation is 99% accurate, because I still remember one time when I was still studying in the United States, Washington, D.C., I got a telemarketing call asking, may I speak to? And she stopped calling me because she doesn't know how to call my Chinese name correctly. So she then continued, said, may I speak to Mr. Kiwi Huan? So my response is, oh, I'm not a fruit. Okay. So Kui Huang is absolutely correct. Okay, so my topic today is to talk about NGOs in cross-Taiwan Strait relations and their contributions to regional peace, stability, and prosperity. The reason why I chose this topic is mainly because I was one of the consultants for former Mr. President Ma to the Singapore meeting with Xi Jinping in November 2015. So I witnessed some think tank interchanges before the realization of the Ma Ying-jeou-Xi Jinping meeting in Singapore. You know, that was very historic because after 1949, October, when China was divided into two parts, no top leaders from the two sides have met except Mr. Ma and Xi Jinping. And I am now a frequent participant to the so-called two-city forum between Taipei and Shanghai. So I also see a lot of NGOs engagements between Shanghai and Taipei. And for information, the two-city forum between Taipei and Shanghai has served as the flagship local forum for the betterment of cross-strait interactions. So I think I got some feeling about what NGO can do in order to enhance peace, stability, and prosperity in these troubled waters. So I would like to begin with some historic introduction to cross-strait relations. And as most of you have known, after mid-2008, cross-Taiwan Strait relations have slowly entered a new stage where some consensus have been made and policy rapprochement appears to be emerging to a certain level. In high politics, I mean like political or military, both Taiwan and mainland China have not yielded significant development that can enhance political reconciliation. But in line with the progress in such relations, economic and social exchanges between the two sides of the strait have brought an unprecedented peace since 1949. It is a pity, though, that cross-strait relations have turned sour again after May 2016. That is the ruling party change in Taiwan. The current ruling party, I believe, in Taiwan began to ditch the political foundation for effective mutual communication between Taiwan and mainland China, and therefore seeks incremental Taiwan independence, therefore causing more assertive countermeasures from mainland China, instructed by Xi Jinping, I believe. Then, the Taiwan Strait has become a dire place again. Nowadays, in the realms of defense and international diplomacy, cross-strait relations are extremely, they are extremely important, but the interaction between the two governing authorities on the two sides have become extremely scarce as well. Why they have become extremely scarce? In part because the sovereign territorial disputes between Taiwan and mainland China haven't been settled. And in part because the political contacts between the two sides have not become mature enough for further political reconciliation, especially when the ultimate goal between two sides have been diverse and there's no commonality between Taipei and Beijing. So in defense, perhaps, I don't know, before you came to Taipei, were you worried about your safety, like the PLAs surrounding Taiwan or those military drills? And actually, most of our people do not feel a thing. They are more afraid of typhoons, not the drills. But in defense, I have to admit that the PRC, Beijing authorities, has demonstrated its rapidly growing military capabilities that seems possible both to contain the island of Taiwan and to deter the US from intervening in the Taiwan Strait. In international diplomacy, now the Republic of China has had 12 diplomatic allies only, and one of our allies only deals with God. That is the Vatican. So in political affairs, only 11 allies could speak for us, and they also propose formally for us. Not the US, not Japan, not Canada, but those 11 allies. They propose officially in international government organizations. So sadly, to me, a professor of diplomacy, I sense that the use of checkbook diplomacy to compete for or maintain formal recognition has resurged, and mutual denial in diplomacy has loomed large again. But my question is whether or not these when official interactions between the two sides of the strait have stalled for many years, what can NGOs on the two sides do to help reduce tension or restore peace in the Taiwan Strait? Now, that's a big question. But as I said, I participated or I witnessed some of their contributions. So please allow me to share my 2 cents with you. But before I answer my own question, I think the first thing that should be beared in mind is, despite the fact that the resolution of contemporary transnational issues depends largely on government civil society cooperation, as suggested by the United Nations, I still think cross-strait NGO interactions have not reached such a status. That is, our NGOs and some of those NGOs on the mainland side would like to do more in order to bring peace back. But there is some political barrier that has prevented these NGOs from doing more, especially those restrictive policies conducted by the two sides of the strait. A lot of NGOs cannot meet face-to-face. They can use social media or like Zoom to talk, but that's different from this face-to-face engagement. That said, still, it is very possible within the framework of cross-strait relations that these NGOs on the two sides can collaborate or coordinate to reinforce joint interest of the people on the both sides. If this is true, then I think maybe there will be a spillover effect benefiting all parties concerned in the Taiwan Strait. So why am I a little bit optimistic? Because if I look at the economic side, that is, if you believe that economic development may facilitate the progress in peace, then Taiwan's and mainland China's economic and industrial development can be facilitated by related NGOs. Maybe you haven't heard this pact signed by Taipei and Beijing in 2010 that is called ECFA, ECFA, Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement. It is exactly like the initial stage of signing an FTA between two countries. But the two sides, officially, we don't call each other country. So we call it ECFA, Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement. And this ECFA has been taken into effect in 2010. That is when former President Ma was in power. ECFA has served as a very important tool for the two sides to think about how to enhance economic interactions, how to deal with those trade disputes, or how to combat economic illegal actions jointly by the two sides' authorities. So this ECFA actually has guided a lot of NGOs to do more. For instance, NGOs like chambers of commerce or associations from various sectors can play a facilitating or supporting role by initiating exchange visits or by setting up notarial offices for certification of origin. That have been done by NGOs, not by central governments of the two sides. So NGOs plays a big role in there, I believe. Okay, and I can move on to the social culture side. That is, if you have a faith in constructive effects of social cultural exchanges, then in Taiwan and mainland China, we have had more. A lot of religious or educational NGOs, for example, have launched a lot of exchange programs. And when they could visit each other, they flew to Taiwan, for example, to meet with their counterparts. And then, that brought better understanding between the two societies crossing the strait. So I firmly believe that these NGO engagements should not be seized by any political forces. The nature of NGOs is supposed to be non-governmental, but in the issue of cross-strait relations, I kind of believe that we probably need some NGOs having some political relations with the government, and they engage one another for the betterment of cross-strait relations. Because I study conflict management, and we always use this phrase herding cats, to herd cats when we talk about NGO and conflict management. But if I can borrow the sentence used by Deng Xiaoping, he said, black cat, white cat, as long as it can catch mouse, then it is good cat. So NGOs, yes, NGOs without political affiliation or connection with the government, or NGOs with some political affiliation or relation with the government, both are good, as long as they can engage interactions. That's my point. So I know the time is limited, so I would like to conclude by saying that for me, I think there is a glass ceiling for NGOs' contribution to regional peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Because eventually, it is the two governing authorities in Taipei and in Beijing who should sit down and talk to each other. They should have found a commonality according to their respective constitutions. I think, actually, sadly, I think Beijing insists on its own constitution and calls for one country, two systems. But in Taipei, I think, yes, we have had a constitution, but the current administration is doing something else, not in line with our constitution. Therefore, positional bargaining began and actually troubled cross-strait relations. So despite the glass ceiling, but I still think the future cross-strait relations will rely partially on meaningful interactions among NGOs between the two sides. And lastly, I think not only NGOs from the two sides and friends like you can help two sides NGO engage one another. Of course, I know the Beijing authorities do not want their NGOs to meet with Taiwan's NGOs internationally. But if in Taiwan, then I think some kind of trilateral, Taiwan, mainland China, international NGO interactions are still possible. So I put my hope to the future political change in Taiwan, and hopefully not only the two sides NGOs, but also NGOs from your side can help us with the betterment of cross relations. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. It's very helpful. And it reminds me when I first came here to the World League of Freedom and Democracy, President Ma was actually at this venue and talked to all of us, and we went to his office and talked to him there. And there were all kinds of mainland Chinese people here in Taipei, in Taiwan, a lot of tourism and going to the museums and such, and it was a much easier time. Many of you know my husband, Isaac Humphrey, and he does a lot of work with like New York Fashion Week and London Fashion Week. And he was talking to people here and also from mainland China about having a fashion week that would be both in Taipei and in Shanghai. And it was a really interesting thing. And so those things were possible back then. It would be nice if they could become possible again. So thank you for your remarks. And with that, we have a coffee break. So let's take a few minutes and get some coffee, and then we will have our panel discussion. So we'll start with the video if we have that ready. Roll the
Hello,
video.
everyone. I'm Judy Scrow, Member of Parliament for Humber River Black Creek in Toronto, Canada. Distinguished leaders, esteemed delegates, and dear friends of the World League for Freedom and Democracy and the Asian Pacific League for Freedom and Democracy. I sincerely regret that I am unable to join you in person, but my thoughts and full support are with you all. It is a true honor to address you at this remarkable conference of the 2025 WLFD General Conference and the 66 AP LFD Conference. Let me first extend my heartfelt congratulations on convening such an important gathering under the powerful theme, NGOs as the catalyst for promoting world peace. Your work in advancing democracy, human rights, and peace has never been more vital. As the world faces increasingly complex challenges, it is NGOs that give voice to the unheard and bring hope where it is needed most. This conference is not only a platform for dialogue and partnership, but a reaffirmation of our shared commitment to a free and peaceful world. I applaud your continued efforts and your unwavering courage in defending freedom and democracy, especially in regions where these values are under threat. I hope you have a successful and productive conference. May your discussions spark new ideas and lead to meaningful action for a better world. Thank you, and God bless all.
And Senator Wilson, yeah.
It is indeed a great privilege again to be here in Taipei at this wonderful conference and to speak among all of my great friends that, as Bruce has alluded to earlier, we've grown to know each other and respect each other over many years. So I'm delighted to be here again in Taipei. My perspective is that of an Irish senator who has studied and viewed the Northern Ireland peace process up close, up very close. But I also bring another more personal perspective, that of someone reared within sight of the border that runs across our small island. Throughout my teens, I saw the hurt, the pain and violence play out not just on our TV screens at home, but only a few hundred meters up the road from the house I was born and reared in. But I have also witnessed something else. I have seen how courageous political leadership from both sides can transform conflict into concord by slowly building trust. I just want to be very clear. We on the island of Ireland have not resolved our conflict. What we have done is to learn to manage our conflict. There is now agreement that violence will not resolve the conflict and that we must all look instead to politics and dialogue. This is our great achievement. This is the peace process. It is the achievement of political leaders and all communities. But it is also the achievement of the people, North and South, and the transformative part played by civic society and NGOs in paving the way to durable, inclusive peace. Let me take you through some practical lessons and positive examples from the Northern Ireland peace process that might resonate with this distinguished audience and perhaps inspire further dialogue. The Northern Ireland peace process offers a rich tapestry of lessons on how civic society groups, NGOs, and the business and trade union community can play transformative roles in fostering peace and political dialogue. There are several takeaway lessons from the Northern Ireland peace process which I would like to focus on here today. The first of these is the need to build trust where none previously existed. Trust between communities in Northern Ireland was almost non-existent for decades and decades. Grassroots and civic society groups helped build what I would call trust in the process, especially when there was no direct trust between adversaries. Across the island of Ireland, organisations like Corrie Mila, Cooperation Ireland, and many faith-based groups created safe spaces where people could step outside of their political identities, share meals, and engage in honest conversation. Modest, informal dialogue, facilitated by NGOs, can play a crucial role in simply getting people into the same room and keeping them there. The contribution of Sir George Quigley and the role played by the business and social partners sheds light on how economic actors created the space and cover to enable the political leaders in the Northern Ireland peace process to move forward. Sir George Quigley was a towering figure. He was a distinguished civil servant, a business leader and peace builder whose vision extended beyond traditional boundaries. He helped bring business, trade union and voluntary organisations together into what was locally called the Group of Seven, or the G7. This group presented a unified voice advocating peace and economic renewal. They acted as a political intermediary and a think tank. They engaged all 9 political parties collectively, stressing that Northern Ireland has a stark choice between continued conflict and the promise of peace and prosperity. This coalition provided crucial political cover for the politicians to pursue bold negotiations. It did this by talking constantly about the economic benefits of peace. By promoting social and economic conditions favourable to peace, the business community added a stabilising voice that encouraged politicians during the many moments of crisis. And I see in the audience we have here Lord Rogan, who was an active participant in that peace process. And Lord Rogan, I want to again acknowledge you and your contribution to peace on the island of Ireland. Thank you. The G7's insistence on partisanship and collective dialogue helped bridge divides and sustain momentum when formal negotiations faced impasses. Businesses moved beyond their traditional roles to become brokers, lobbyists, and guardians of the peace dividend, a powerful concept linking peace directly to economic growth and social stability. The lessons for all of us in this room is clear. Civic society and NGOs are vital, integrating business leaders and employee representatives as stakeholders can create the supportive environment that political processes require. It offers an inspiring model for encouraging dialogue, inclusion, and stability in divided societies anywhere. Through building trust, critical lessons can be learned. I just want to very briefly mention embracing inclusivity, but be patient. One of the most important roles in civic society was insisting on inclusivity. The peace process in Northern Ireland involved all the elected political parties, but it also consulted smaller parties and grassroots organisations. Some groups were willing or ready to participate. Civic facilitators left empty chairs for those who are not, signalling that the process remained open and that all voices mattered. NGOs and community groups in Northern Ireland reframed the debate by focusing on shared values rather than traditional zero-sum narratives. Shared values such as parity of esteem, mutual respect, and equal rights. When the Good Friday Agreement was put to a referendum, both North and South, an all-Ireland referendum, civic society rose to the challenge. The Civic Society Yes campaign was driven by women's and youth groups, churches and local activists. They each worked across the divide to achieve a strong yes vote. This wasn't just about getting votes, it was about ownership. The people of Northern Ireland were given the opportunity to engage and make the process their own. Sustainable peace needs civic society actors who are independent, credible, and honest about their interests. They should bring people together, not just mirror the conflict. But they must also engage actively with political leaders and elected representatives, acting as both facilitators and watchdogs. In difficult moments, this independence makes them trustworthy brokers. Northern Ireland benefited hugely from international support. This provided advice, assistance, and sometimes mediation, but lasting legitimacy required local voice and ownership. Local NGOs and civic bodies were helped by international partners to build trust and find solutions that reflected the local realities. In conclusion, colleagues, the lessons of Northern Ireland is not that civic society and NGOs can do everything, but they can help political leaders to build trust and inclusivity, change the conversation, mobilise support, and keep the peace process alive when formal politics falters. Their independence and patience underpin sustainable peace. As Taiwan continues its journey, I encourage you to look to your civic actors not as bystanders, but as partners and leaders for peace, dialogue, and mutual understanding. In conclusion, some of you may have noticed today that I sit in front of the flag of the Irish Republic. Lord Rogan sits in front of the flag of the United Kingdom. We both come from the same island, and we only live a short number of miles away from each other. But if anything epitomises what a peace process can do, I think it's already evident in this room here today. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Cesar, President of the World League of Freedom and Democracy, Mexico chapter.
It is an incontrovertible truth that non-governmental organizations, commonly known as NGOs, are private entities that operate independently of governmental oversight. They are inherently non-profit and are dedicated to advancing the public interest and the social well-being through initiatives spanning human rights, development, education, the environment, and more. Their contributions are indispensable to civil society as they raise public awareness and complement governmental efforts to foster positive change. The phenomenon of collective organization in the pursuit of noble causes is as old as humanity itself. However, the formal recognition of NGOs as legitimate actors in the global arena can be traced back centuries to movements such as abolitionism and women's suffrage. Their global prominence was further solidified post-World War II with the establishment of the United Nations in 1945. Since then, NGOs have undergone significant evolution, becoming more professional and adept at responding to emerging social needs, thus transitioning from a primarily welfare-based model to being pivotal agents of social change and rights advocacy on a global scale. In Mexico, the movement known as Mothers in Search has gained considerable attention for revealing critical information in the face of governmental neglect and pervasive insecurity. Much like the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo in Argentina, these women, with limited resources yet immense resolve, tirelessly research for their missing children, exposing the nexus between organized crime and the state authorities. Their only plea for a both most and heart-wrenching motive. They seek merely a place to mourn, knowing their loved ones are no longer with them. Another exemplary organization is Article 19, which has documented that 7 journalists have been murdered in the current year alone, and 174 since the dawn of this century. In bringing these figures to light, the organization stands resilient against defamation on social media and legal harassment. Yet, the gravest threat they face remains that of drug cartels, organized crime, which seeks to silence the press through violence. Therefore, supporting and sponsoring such entities is imperative, as it fortifies civil society and compels public institutions to fulfill their responsibilities. In his recent essay, the Dutch writer Ian Buruma ponders the preservation of decency in an increasingly indecent era. He asks what measures can be taken when politics become insular, when reason and speech are compromised, and when the powerful surpass the law. Buruma's reflections remind us that the true measure of a society's decency lies not solely in its political institutions, but in the everyday interactions of its citizens. The defense of truth, dignity, and human rights does not demand martyrs, but it does demand courage, persistence, and collective conscience. NGOs embody this role. They remind us that the true measure of a society lies not only in its institutions or parliaments, but in the everyday commitment of its people to resist humiliation, defend rights, and preserve human dignity. In this sense, NGOs are not just complements to government. They are indispensable guardians of democracy and peace itself. Thank you.
Next speaker is Axel Fischer, former member of the Bundestag, president of the World League of Freedom and Democracy, Germany chapter, Germany.
Dear Chair, Bruce, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Imagine a bridge over troubled water, a bridge that spans deep divides of disagreement, connects parties in conflict, and allows dialogue and humanitarian aid to flow across. Non-governmental organizations, so named NGOs, are often exactly these kind of bridge builders. First, let us look at the positive impact of NGOs. They often act faster, more flexible, and closer to the people than large governmental organizations. They are the first to provide humanitarian aid in crisis areas, whether it's medical help or food supplies. They are the tireless advocates for human rights, democracy, and freedom, like the World League for Freedom and Democracy or the Asian Pacific League for Freedom and Democracy. And very important, they are the imperial diplomats who facilitated backroom conversations between varying groups where official channels have failed. They blend the sheets of peace, understanding, and reconciliation. But these sheets need water and nutrients, that is, founding. And this is where a significant conflict of interest lies. Please. NGOs are highly dependent on their funders. This dependence can undermine their neutrality and credibility. This is especially true for NGOs funded by individual wealthy investors or corporations. It is not uncommon for these organizations to serve less for the public good and more to expand the influence of their donors, polish their image, or promote their political agendas, which ultimately aims to maximize their profits. A catalyst for peace can thus become a tool of economic or geopolitical interests. In this complex web of idealism and self-interests, one institution plays a special role, the United Nations. The UN acts as a kind of umbrella, curator, and framework for the work of countless NGOs. Through the United Nations Economic and Social Council, NGOs are granted consultative status. This can provide more transparency, promote certain standards, and help distinguish serious actors from those who primarily served special interests. The United Nations offers a platform where NGOs can raise their voices, network, and embed their peace-building work in a large global context. It is an indispensable conductor for an orchestra of peacemakers. So, how we can distinguish the true catalysts for peace from instruments of influence? In the end, a timeless yardstick invests us to look closely. The biblical reference for Matthew 7, verse 16 says, "By their fruits you will know them." Let's not look at the fancy websites, the well-written mission statements, or the prominent funders. Let's look at the fruits. Let's look at the fruits every day. Has an NGO's work truly de-escalated conflicts? Has it given a voice to the most vulnerable in society without acting its own conditions? Has it acted independently and transparently? The fruits of the justice, mercy, and peaceful change are the only true proof of a catalyst for peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is the Honorable Pritipong he's the leader of the Fair Party and former Member of Parliament, Thailand.
Mr. Chairman, it is my great honor to be here today. I would like to express my deepest gratitude for this precious opportunity to participate in the cause of freedom, democracy, and peace. Peace is one of the most beautiful treasures of our world. It brings liberty, independence, kindness, and mutual support among humanity. Yet, if we look back at history, we will see that wars and conflicts have often brought famine and suffering driven by the lack of food and resources. Food is the most basic foundation of human life. When people have access to the safe and sufficient food, competition and violence are reduced and replaced with harmony and peace. I strongly believe that ensuring access to the safe and sustainable food for everyone does not only alleviate hunger but also prevent conflict and truly strengthen peace. Beyond the part of the politics, where I am committed to pursuing equality, respecting minority, while listening to and honoring the minority, I have also dedicated myself to agriculture, which lies at the very heart of human existence. For agriculture, Is the origin of food one of the four essential fundamentals of life? In Thailand, we have established sustainable agriculture initiative to produce clean, chemical-free food and feed with high-quality agricultural products that are environmentally friendly and beneficial to human health. I firmly uphold the principle that healthy animals and healthy people are social responsibility we must always preserve. Above all, I recognize that non-government organizations, NGO, are powerful catalysts for the world peace. NGO are close to people, amplify the voice of communities at the grassroots, build cooperation across the borders, and preserve as a vital bridge between government, the private sector, and citizens. Through this role, NGO does not only provide aid in time of crisis, but also accelerate the realization of justice, human rights, and food security, which are true foundation of the global peace. For food security is peace security, and NGO are the driving force that ensures this process moves forward with strength and speed. If we work together, agriculture will become a bridge of peace, and NGO will be the catalyst that fortify this bridge, helping the world move forward sustainable harmony. Finally, once again, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for this honorable invitation. I sincerely hope that today's exchange will become another important step toward peace and sustainable prosperity for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the next speaker, also from Thailand, is a former senator and coordinator of the World League of Freedom and Democracy Thailand chapter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. สวัสดีครับ Honorable Cheng Yun-chuan, Chairman of the APLFD Council and the President of the WLFD Republic of China chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be back at the WLFD conference in the beautiful Taipei again. As a former senator from Thailand, I have seen firsthand the integrated relationship between governance, civil society, and the aspiration of a peaceful world. Today, I want to talk about a powerful force shaping our global future, non-government organization or NGO. They are in this principal catalyst in fostering global peace. In our turbulent world, the pursuit of peace isn't solely the domain of governments. While crucial, governments are often constrained by national interests and bureaucratic hurdles. This is where NGOs step in, demonstrating agility, resilience, and a profound ability to reach where traditional diplomacy often cannot. What makes such NGOs powerful catalysts for peace? First is their grassroots presence and human-centered approach. NGO work directly with communities, often in the most vulnerable region. They understand local dynamics, build trust, and addressing the root cause of conflict, like poverty, inequity, or human rights abuse. By empowering individuals, they lay the groundwork for sustainable peace from the bottom up. Second is their ability to transcend political boundary. Unlike state actors, NGOs are bound by national borders. They can operate across lines, foster dialogue, provide impartial humanitarian aid, and advocate for universal values like human dignity. This cross-border collaboration builds bridges of understanding crucial for de-escalating tensions. Third, NGOs are often the first responder and the last to leave. In crisis, they are on the front line providing life-saving assistance. In post-conflict situations, they remain working tirelessly on long-term recovery, reconciliation, and rebuild social cohesion. They are the silent architect of resilience. From my own experience, I have witnessed how the NGO in Thailand and Asia promote cooperation, champion democratic values, seek peace in border regions, and address share challenges like climate change, human trafficking, and animal cruelty. Their work complements government effort, fill critical gaps, and often pioneer in innovation solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the path of sustainable global peace is a shared responsibility, demanding strong multilateral and active citizen engagement. In this complex ecosystem, NGOs are not just partners, they are essential catalysts that accelerate progress and spark transformation toward a more peaceful, just, and democratic world. While most NGOs are vital, we must exercise caution with those that are state-sponsored with hidden agenda, those that accept funding for dishonest purpose, or those with overly idealistic view that refuse to adapt to diversion society. These can be dangerous. Therefore, let us actively champion, empower, and collaborate with honest, sincere, and independent NGOs, fostering environmental of transparency, accountability, and mutual respect. In their timeless effort lie immense hope for a future defined by harmony, not hostility. Let us not forget that our own WLFD is also an NGO that has strived to foster democracy and global peace for a long time. And we should encourage and support it to continue its mission and achieve its goals swiftly. Furthermore, just to this the conference, when I see our honorable friend from Cambodia, we have Thailand and Cambodia. You may have heard that we have conflict on the border, so we may use this opportunity among two of us as NGO. We can act and help to find out maybe some solution, and when we go back, we can talk to our government, and in order to settle our border dispute. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And our final panelist is Member of Parliament, Yokohama City Council, Japan. Please welcome our final panelist. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be a final panelist. My name is Yasuhiro Kogai from Japan. a member of the Yokohama City Council and currently serving as the chairman of the Kanagawa Prefectural Federation of the Democratic Party for the People. It is a great honor to be invited to this historic gathering. Allow me to express my heartfelt gratitude, particularly to WLFD President Mr. Yao Enchi, APLFD Council Chairman Mr. Sen Yon-chan, and all those who have worked tirelessly to make this conference a success. First, I'd like to talk about Yokohama. Yokohama has a unique history. Ever since the port opened in 1859, many people of Taiwanese heritage settled there for trade and commerce, forming Japan's largest Chinatown. For over a century, these communities have played a vital role in developing Yokohama as a truly international city. I was born and raised in Yokohama, and from an early age, I was surrounded by the vibrant culture of Chinatown. Through these experiences, I came to value the beauty of diversity and the importance of internationalism. These lessons have profoundly shaped my political philosophy and have strengthened my lifelong belief in the values of freedom and diversity. Today, Yokohama continues to deepen its ties with Taiwan. For instance, the Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office has a branch office in Yokohama, and the annual Taiwan Festival held at the Red Brick Warehouse has become a much-loved community event. These grassroots exchanges at the municipal level help foster mutual understanding and contribute to the ongoing development of Japan-Taiwan friendship. In August of this year, the youth bloc of the Democratic Party for the People, to which I belong, visited Taiwan and held discussion with Vice President Xiao Mei-cheng and Minister of Foreign Affairs Lin Che-leung. I was told that these talks included serious discussions about the rising military tensions around Taiwan. In this context, we often hear the phrase, 台湾有事は日本の有事. It means a contingency in Taiwan is a contingency for Japan. Due to the proximity of the border between the two countries. However, I would like to express it slightly differently. The peace of Taiwan is the stability of Japan. I firmly believe that the strengthening political and economical cooperation between Japan and Taiwan is the most effective way to deter aggressive ambitions by authoritarian powers. Such collaboration will bring stability to Taiwan and, by extension, will peacefully secure stability for Japan and the broader region. The WLFD and APLFD, who have organized this conference, have for over half a century carried the torch of freedom and democracy, standing resolutely against one-party dictatorships and totalitarianism. Our party, the Democratic Party for the People, shares these same principles. We too are committed to opposing totalitarianism and advancing freedom and democracy as core values. By deepening solidarity with all of you, we can contribute to the establishment of a stable democratic order in the Indo-Pacific region, taking the first step toward achieving both Taiwan's stability and Japan's stability. The theme of this conference, as I understand, is NGO as the catalyst for promoting world peace. I deeply resonate with this theme. While governments and parliaments play critical roles, they are sometimes constrained by institutional and political limitations. NGOs, on the other hand, can act flexibly and give voice to the concerns of ordinary citizens. In Yokohama, we have many NGOs working in disaster preparedness, foreign resident support, and peace initiatives. These grassroots efforts strengthen our local communities, build international trust, and ultimately lay the foundation for peace. In today's world, we face complex global challenges, natural disasters, pandemics, and humanitarian crises arising from conflict. No single nation can address these issues alone. It is therefore essential for governments, local municipalities, and NGOs to work together, establishing a collaborative framework. At this point, I would like to offer a specific proposal that we cooperate NGOs into the practice of urban diplomacy. Major cities can serve as platforms where international issues are discussed and addressed at the citizen level. Yokohama has built cooperative relationships not only with cities across the Asia-Pacific region, but also with partners in Africa and beyond. By integrating the efforts of NGOs into these city-level networks, I believe we can build a more effective foundation for peace and freedom. Peace, freedom, and democracy are not gifts handed down to us. They must be protected and nurtured through our own continuous efforts. Through NGOs acting as catalysts, citizens of Japan and Taiwan can deepen trust and friendship beyond borders. And together, we can cultivate vibrant, free, and democratic societies. It is sincere hope that this conference will mark a significant step forward in that shared journey. Thank you very much.
All right, our time is almost up. I think we have a possibility for one speaker from the floor to give us a brief talk. So anybody want to go to the podium and give us a brief? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello, I'll just take a minute. During the break, I did some research and I found that in 1617, the very first NGO was formed in France by a group of women called the Ladies of Charity. And then in 1839, the Anti-Slavery Society was formed in the UK. By a group of 3 British gentlemen who wanted to abolish slavery. And then in India, in 1905, the first NGO was formed called Servants of India Society, and it was formed to give public service to the poor. And then in 1917, the second NGO was formed in India, and it was called the Bengal Home Industries Association to promote Indian handicrafts. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was brief. It actually gives us time for another speaker if anybody else wants to come. Question? Oh. Questions for the speakers? Any of you have questions for us? Yes, sir.
I just don't know how we can ferret out NGOs that support the communist movement in the Philippines. And in other ways, how can we check or validate legitimate NGOs that supports peace, freedom, and democracy in my country? Thank you very much.
Anybody want to take that? Difficult question. I'm not sure any of us. Do you have an answer?
I don't think I have an answer. All I can do is speak to the experience in the United States, where you have to file mountains of paperwork as what they call a 501c3, not-for-profit, or you file as a political organization, and then the government in each state then has reports that have to be filed, and those entities determine whether or not you are achieving your mission or whether or not you are engaging in activity which is not according to the mission or according to what you should be doing. And I don't know if they have that ability in the Philippines or don't have that ability in the Philippines, but that would be something that in the United States, that's how they take care of NGOs that are not appropriate NGOs. There's laws that protect people from fraudulent organizations.
Anybody else? Any other question? Questions from the floor? If there are no questions, I think we can adjourn. Thank you very much. Let me just say one more thing for myself. I'm very troubled by what I see in the world. I see a growth of autocracy. I think freedom and democracy are in trouble around the world with more authoritarianism and fascist governments, and it just goes on and on and on. So the work that we're doing here is very important, and we need to continue this work and do everything we can to preserve and help freedom and democracy to thrive, to grow, and to counteract the opposites, which are fascism and autocracy, and we're seeing way too much of that. So the work we do here is very important, and it doesn't stop here. We have to take it back to our homes and, do this work all the time. Thank you.